The holidays come with a touch of craziness, from unwrapping the latest storylines to the best betting insights. We've got everything you need to crank up the excitement this season. We can't promise there won't be a little yelling.
Play a decent schedule. They have maybe 500.
Got it. It just ruined my day.
But we can guarantee a whole lot of fun. Merry Christmas from all of us at SportsGrid.
I mean, this is week 16, and you're throwing this guy in the fire. I know the Giants suck, Scotty, but you got that backdrop. Just give it to Bijan 50 times if Penix isn't looking too well.
And I also think Penn State has an easy track. And I think, to be honest with you, Indiana, people are all going to say they should have never been there. And listen, I just wanted to say one last time before that happens that you can all kiss my ass.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
And you're not riding with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Where have you gone? Don't tell me it's your Philadelphia Eagles, Donnie. Who's the team for you?
You see that Vince Lombardi trophy that sits back here? That's a replica. And that's something that the Philadelphia Eagles have won as recent as 2017. The Buffalo Bills are notorious for making it to the Super Bowl and coming up lame, which they might be able to do. But my question is, can the Buffalo Bills even get to the Super Bowl?
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
We welcome you to hour number 3 live right here on this Monday morning to start off a new week on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. So much to get into here in this third and final hour. The Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, will join us up next to look back on the weekend that was from an injury perspective to give that insight and analysis for the final 2 weeks of the regular season following the conclusion of Week 16 tonight on a Monday night in a game that doesn't really seem to be all that illustrious or competitive between the Packers and the Saints that we'll discuss in just a matter of moments. But we'll try to find a way through a prop perspective with TV Tom Vecchio in a little bit of making sure it is a profitable one before you get to Christmas Eve, before you get to Christmas. Hanukkah starts this week if you're into that thing as well. So much to get to here, DRS, in this third and final hour.
Now, do you love Adam Sandler's rendition there of the, the 12 Days of Christmas? What is it? David Lee Roth lights the menorah. Fantastic song, man. Fantastic. Plays it all the way around. Have some fun. By the way, I don't know. Come on. Is that how many days of Christmas do we get, actually? Is it 12 Days of Christmas? 12 Days of Christmas, know better right? Than me. Is that the song? How many days of Hanukkah? Yeah. How many days of Hanukkah we get?
8.
8 days of Hanukkah. That's, by the way, let me understand this, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have meals? Like, how does it play out? Like, I've never celebrated Hanukkah. Like, if there's 8 different meals, I might be in on it. So give me the lowdown here.
I'm going to have to explain Judaism to my friend Donnie Rightside. All right. So here is how Hanukkah works. You light a candle each and every night on the menorah to commemorate. See, now I'm not going to mess up the history.
No, I like, Hanukkah, here we go.
Regardless, From a meal perspective, let me just say this. There are things that go with Hanukkah, like latkes,
do we fast in Hanukkah
potato
or no?
pancakes. No fasting. That's only Yom Kippur.
No, I got it. By the way, can I be invited to your Yom Kippur, Ben? Like, I would really buy into it, to be honest.
So, DRS, I grew up in the Jewish faith. I'm not overly religious in nature or do not practice Judaism.
Same
currently
here.
Had a banger of a bar mitzvah. So I don't really celebrate Yom Kippur. There's some others maybe that you could ask around the SportsGrid network. Craig Mish, I think, does a great Yom Kippur. From what I've heard.
Because everybody oh, what a, I guess is it the sun goes down? You don't eat till the sun goes down. Like people screaming and crying. I'd be like, come on, man. Yeah.
Whatever day it is to sundown the following day. About a 24-hour fast to try to cleanse your body in the new year to, absolve all of your sins and start fresh, basically.
That's basically what I do every day, man. I celebrate Yom Kippur every day, Ben. There you go. Shout it out, baby. Let's go. Every day I sin every day, Ben.
This definitely towed the line of insensitivity. But hey, what are we going to?
No way.
I mean, listen, curiosity, right? We're trying to learn. Yeah. We're trying to figure things out. All right. As we said, Monday Night Football to end out week number 16 tonight in the Big Easy between the Packers, at Lambeau, between the Packers and the Saints. More than a 2-touchdown spread in favor of Green Bay. There is a team in Green Bay that needs this to figure out their postseason positioning within the NFC. The Saints have been eliminated and play under interim head coach with a backup quarterback in Spencer Rattler, the rookie and 5th-round pick. How close is this game going to be? That's what we'll have to determine. But we start with that assessment by hearing from the people. It is time now for Fade the Public. Now, DRS, it's oftentimes difficult to fade the public when everything is pretty even across the board. You like when the public is so in on one or two options and you can figure out where the public is not looking if you want to fade them. As I did on Thursday night, by the way, dead over in LA between the Chargers and the Broncos to kick off week 16, as we explored, by the way, because of the idea that so many people were looking at the side or the under, it went well over. Here, DRS, every vote has at least 21%. Everything pretty even. The Packers as the hefty home favorite. The Saints getting more than 2 touchdowns on the road. The over of 42.5 or maybe under because we only really expect offense from one side. I guess most of the vote is with the Saints as the dog, just catching more than 2 touchdowns. Green Bay would really need to win by a lot tonight. Which way did you vote, DRS?
Yeah, I actually voted Packers, but understand this. It's one of those like, okay, which way do you want to go? Where as a handicapper, these games are the most frustrating. One team needs to win technically. The Packers will probably still get in anyway. One team really is in the off season, but the new head coach, interim coach, Darren Rizzi, he's got this team playing well, and he's got them playing competitive football. And if there is, I know we love recency bias. Let's just go back 24 hours, Ben. Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots, isn't that a similar circumstance? Almost identical spread. One team way out of it here. They're not going to show up and play, but take a 14-0 lead here and hold on for victory for the home team. Yeah. So that sort of plays into it. But also, let's understand this. Like, word got out. Like, I don't know if this is supposed to be a positive, but it feels like it's a negative. Like, hey, by the way, the New Orleans quarterbacks have been taken into the cafeteria freezer to call plays so they can get used to how cold it's going to be in Green Bay. Now, say what you want. The New England Patriots practicing cold weather. They're from the Northeast. They didn't get shocked by the cold temperatures of the Buffalo Bills. You have a Southern Dome team in a meaningless football game that's going to warm up and be like, yo, man, it's cold out here. So how did they actually respond in this environment is a little bit different, and that's the tough thing to comprehend because we could sit and be like, oh, of course the Packers are going to win the game, but 14.5 means you're expecting the Packers to win by roughly 3 touchdowns, if that makes sense.
Yeah, again, it is a large burden for Green Bay to cover. They would have to win. Technically, it could be 2 scores, 15 or 16 points, but more than likely, they would have to win by 3 scores. It's not winning by 2 touchdowns and covering as a 13.5-point home favorite. You have that additional point there in the hook added on to that 2-touchdown margin. Donnie, as you alluded to, under Darren Rizzi, New Orleans has been pretty good with the interim head man and the pride of the Garden State. They have won 3 of 5 games. They have covered in 3 of 5, including last week getting more than a touchdown at home against the Commanders. Now, you could argue that game is just a push, depending on where you got the number. If the NFL referees did not completely mess up the clock and allow New Orleans to have one final play in regulation. DRS in 4 of the 5 games where Rizzi has been the interim head man, the Saints have played to the under. They have scored 20 points or fewer in 4 of the 5 as well, including, and again, if you don't add in the idea of that free play and the touchdown to end out regulation, it would have been 2 touchdowns or fewer in 3 straight. I think Green Bay could score 35 tonight. So I don't love the idea of the under. If I were going to focus on an under, perhaps it would be Saints team total, as you saw there.
Yeah, no, there's the ways you're approaching this game is it's the home team is the much better team. There are extenuating circumstances, but also if this game, Ben, was played 3.5 or 4 weeks ago, what is it, 7.5? Like, I feel like it's a full touchdown because of the environment you're playing in, where one team's still playing, the other one technically not supposed to be playing at this point. So I hear you on that. If I'm just trying to attack it, it probably would be more from a Packers perspective. Multiple touchdown passes out of the quarterback. You know, the running back Jacobs probably going to find pay dirt in this one. One of those wide receivers probably going to have a significant impact. But you're also trying to minimize the damage from a Saints side by saying, are their numbers so low that I can't pass it up? Like, Spencer Rattler's going to be the quarterback for the whole game. Whether they're down 2 or 3 touchdowns, he's probably still slinging it into the third and the fourth quarter before they get out of here. But also, you're right. You see that 13.5. That's bait mode right there. Why? Because it's like, oh, they just need 14. They're probably not kicking field goals late in that game. And if they have 10 points, you're like, hey, 2 scoring drives, 3 and 3, not getting that. Like, you need 2 touchdowns tonight. Do you think the Saints could score 2 touchdowns? That's the idea.
And Spencer Rattler has played a decent amount this year. As we know, his first start featured a game where there was 51-27 being the final. We'll see. We'll talk with the Pro Football Doc next.
The holidays come with a touch of craziness, from unwrapping the latest storylines to the best betting insights. We've got everything you need to crank up the excitement this season. We can't promise there won't be a little yelling.
Play a decent schedule. They have maybe 500.
Oh, they just ruined my day.
But we can guarantee a whole lot of fun. Merry Christmas from all of us at SportsGrid.
I mean, this is week 16, and you're throwing this guy in the fire. I know the Giants suck, Scotty, but you got that backdrop. Just give it to Bijan 50 times if Penix isn't looking too well.
And I also think Penn State has an easy track. And I think, to be honest with you, Indiana, people are all going to say they should have never been there. And listen, I just wanted to say one last time before that happens that you can all kiss my ass.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
You're not riding with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Where have you gone? Don't tell me it's the Philadelphia Eagles, Donnie. Who's the team for you?
You see that Vince Lombardi trophy that sits back here? That's a replica. And that's something that the Philadelphia Eagles have won as recent as 2017. The Buffalo Bills are notorious for making it to the Super Bowl and coming up lame, which they might be able to do. But my question is, can the Buffalo Bills even get to the Super Bowl?
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. What a Monday it has been. What a week it has been. It's Monday at 10:14 a.m. We'll continue to preview Monday Night Football to conclude week number 16 around the National Football League. No, because we have to, Donnie. We have to. We have to.
But I want to talk injuries.
Oh, okay.
Let's be Doc. Come on. Let's take a look at some things.
Segment idea.
Yeah.
If we don't have the Pro Football Doc, we go to Dr. Donnie. And we say that with the very big caveat and make sure that we put this out there. In fact, we should have a disclaimer probably running across the screen. Not an actual doctor.
I am a doctor.
But Dr. Donnie. All right, so here we go. I'm going to ask for your injury insight and analysis. DRS, I do just want to say, as we talked about earlier, really unfortunate, scary, and significant injury to Tank Dell, who was having a great game for Houston in his second year. 6 grabs, 98 yards, and a touchdown that made it a one-possession game in the second half against KC, but on the touchdown grab, collided with his teammate. It is a dislocated kneecap. It's about as significant of a knee injury as one can suffer. It is gruesome. It is significant. The setback is a big one, and a large and long recovery process is now starting for Tank Dell, who remained in a hospital in Kansas City in the 24 hours or so after suffering the injury. So our thoughts with Dell and his long road to recovery.
And also, like, as a Houston fan, like, you're getting robbed this season. Like, how much fun did we think Houston would be? Picking them to win the division, I thought they would do that and say, wow, look at that 3-headed monster at wide receiver. You add Joe Mixon in the backfield. You had almost a rookie of the year / MVP last year in C.J. Stroud. What could they do? What type of damage could they inflict if they got into the playoffs? Now you're down to Nico Collins, who is sensational, and you still have Joe Mixon. But does anybody think that round one game now is like, hey, if Houston wins, they might be lucky even they were at home? If you had Diggs out there and Nico Collins and a healthy Mechie and a Tank Dell and a Dalton Schultz and a Mixon, boy, that's a fun lineup here. And you're left with just Nico Collins. That's the first part that I look at where it's a shame, where I thought they might be so much fun to watch in the playoffs. Now it looks like a one and done in this point, and it's not their fault. It's not from bad play. It's just a war of attrition that they're losing, Ben.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. 9-6 is the outright record for the Texans. They can move up the AFC playoff standings, but they would need some help really to move off of that 4 line. They will host the opening round. More than likely, they will get the top at-large wild card team that at this current moment is Baltimore. They played each other last year, albeit in the Charm City. The Ravens won that game comfortably in the divisional round. But here is really where Dr. Donnie excels. When it comes to injuries around the calf muscle and any hamstring issues that might be out there. Donnie, Chris Jones, of course, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the sport for Kansas City. Calf injury on Saturday afternoon. Marshawn Lattimore, a great game yesterday against the Philadelphia Eagles. Hamstring injury. Drake London, hamstring injury that Atlanta did say he could have returned if it was even remotely close against the New York Giants. DRS, calves, hamstrings, it's your time to shine. What's the outlook for Chris Jones, Marshawn Lattimore, and Drake London? You can pick one or talk about all three, whatever you want to do.
Well, no, we're going to talk about all three. Let's start here with Chris Jones. You got a big man who absolutely, when the game is on the line, maybe the most dominant defensive lineman in football as it stands right now. If he has a calf injury, the perfect scenario for the Kansas City Chiefs. Hey, look, 2 games to play, got to win 1, and we're going to be the number 1 seed. How does he have a calf injury on a Saturday and then play again on a Wednesday? That can't happen. I don't think Chris Jones is going to be there, but I use this caveat. Do we actually get accurate reports on who's injured and how they're injured for Kansas City? So that one's a little bit more murky. But for me, I don't think we see him on Christmas Day. Let's get to the next one here, which will be Marshawn Lattimore. This is the tough one where you look at, Ben. This guy has fought hamstring injuries the entire way through the season. Comes back and immediately hurts that hamstring again. There's a chance we don't see him for the rest of the regular season because Washington is probably going to get in. The last thing you need to do is your number 1 cornerback acquisition is put him out there in a spot that he could harm again. And also keep in mind, it's not as if you're playing in Hawaii or Miami where it's 80 degrees and you can get that hamstring loosened up. You're in a cold weather environment. I expect him to miss this week and next week, Ben, and hopefully try to get back for the playoff run. Same thing with Drake London. The one thing I love about wide receivers and skill position players is unless they've had a hamstring injury, they don't understand it because technically it's not all that painful, but the inability to run and make cuts and damage it further, they always think they can play through. Like you can play through an ankle sprain or, a banged up shoulder. You can't do that. So I don't care if they said, hey, look, he hurt his hamstring but couldn't come back here. You know what? I put the odds on Drake London playing next week, 50-50. And if he does play, Ben, he's not going to finish that football game. How about that?
Wow, the hamstring prognosis for Drake London. That might have been the matchup, DRS, for our Sunday night football game in Landover. Drake London against Marshawn Lattimore. We shall see. Now, I wasn't here again. I was out buying Christmas gifts as Donnie was breaking down Michael Penix Jr. and his debut as a starter for Atlanta. It wasn't overwhelmingly great, but he didn't have to do all that much. And the interception on that final box score and stat line was so much more on Kyle Pitts that might have been Michael Penix's first NFL passing touchdown than it was on Penix. It's a 4.5-point spread in favor of the Commanders for Sunday night. Washington trying to improve its stock in the seed line around the NFC and even still has a shot. I guess probably by that time they will know if they can win the NFC East, as Philadelphia just needs to beat Dallas earlier on Sunday to clinch that division. But I still look at the Commanders maybe humbling the Falcons, if you will, in that spot. At least that is my estimation. We don't have the doc, unfortunately. We did have Dr. Donnie. Should we still take a look at the field views? Oh, we are. Awesome. All right. Here's the field views on SportsInjuryCentralScore.com. That is SICScore.com, SICScore.com. Looks pretty green. Looks like a
big
freaking Christmas tree out there. Yeah. Oh, my
big
God.
edge here, by the way, based on it. You have the damaged New Orleans Saints coming in at a 68.4 rating, but then you have the 92.7 rating on offense. 11-point advantage toward the Packers tonight. Packers! Dun, 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 dun. Go, Pack, go!
The holidays come with a touch of craziness, from unwrapping the latest storylines to the best betting insights. We've got everything you need to crank up the excitement this season. We can't promise there won't be a little yelling.
Play a decent schedule. They have maybe 500. There's no rush.
Oh, that just ruined my day.
But we can guarantee a whole lot of fun. Merry Christmas from all of us at SportsGrid.
I mean, this is week 16, and you're throwing this guy in the fire. I know the Giants suck, Scotty, but you got that backdrop. Just give it to Bijan 50 times if Penix isn't looking too well.
And I also think Penn State has an easy track. And I think, to be honest with you, Indiana, people are all going to say they should have never been there. And listen, I just wanted to say one last time before that happens that you can all kiss my ass.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
You're not riding with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Where have you gone? Don't tell me it's the Philadelphia Eagles, Donnie. Who's the team for you?
You see that Vince Lombardi trophy that sits back here? That's a replica. And that's something that the Philadelphia Eagles have won as recent as 2017. The Buffalo Bills are notorious for making it to the Super Bowl and coming up lame, which they might be able to do. But my question is, can the Buffalo Bills even get to the Super Bowl?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Monday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. Let's take a look at that prop perspective for Monday Night Football at Lambeau to end out week number 16. We'll dive even deeper into the props with our guy, TV Tom Vecchio of SportsGrid, in our next segment. Quarterback comparison, DRS, the fifth-round draft pick out of South Carolina via Oklahoma, who is a native of the outside Phoenix area in Arizona, has to head to Lambeau tonight That is Spencer Rattler, making career start number 4 in his 5th NFL career game. Did come in for the abysmal Jake Haener last week and played well right through what would have been the game-tying touchdown in the final seconds of regulation had the Saints decided to kick the extra point and force OT. 175.5, the number on Rattler. Jordan Love on the other side, 230 and a hug. DRS, how do you compare the quarterbacks? What are you expecting out of the quarterbacks in terms of the offensive scheme tonight?
Keeping it close to the vest per se for New Orleans early to see how long they can stick around in the game. I don't think their options are 5 wide, let's get after it and really go tempo versus tempo against the Green Bay Packers, which also brings into, we'll get to the running backs in a moment, but you are getting bargain basement pricing. It's not as if Spencer Rattler went to an FCS school and barely played there and somehow wound up because he's a coach's son on a team and he's never played in an NFL game. Like, he has snaps in the NFL and he has thrown touchdown passes. Buccaneers October 13th threw for 243. The other games, 172, 150, 135, but also has 2 total touchdown passes along with 2 total interceptions. Look at that price point. If it's a 14.5 point game, the way the odds maker is telling you it's playing out is you are always going to be at arm's length, which means you're probably not going to be in a position to just hand the football off and say, we're going to win this game, which means he should be throwing and getting yards just by default. 175.5 is a low number, but also look at the passing touchdown number. You see the comparison, 1.5 for Jordan Love, which is typical for an NFL quarterback. And if you are good, it's going to be juiced appropriately, minus 140, which you're looking at Jordan Love. That half a touchdown pass for the worst players in the NFL usually comes in around minus 190, minus 225, minus 230. Spencer Rattler, minus 128 to throw a single touchdown pass. That's outrageously low.
I think he's going to. Guy, they let him rip in his NFL debut, 22 of 40 against the Bucs. The game was 51-27. It was chaotic. That game was in New Orleans, indoors, so maybe a different scenario. Last week, also indoors in the Big Easy, he did throw that touchdown pass late. I think from the perspective, Donnie, when you look at how this game should play out, I believe on a cold night in Green Bay, Wisconsin, at a place known as the Frozen Tundra, they are probably going to trust Josh Jacobs, who has been great this year, more and more for Green Bay, set the precedent on the run, establish that. But then, if the Saints are trailing, you allow Spencer Rattler to throw the football. Of course, as we know for New Orleans, the reason Rattler is playing is because Derek Carr is more than likely out for the remainder of this season. We got word this past week that Alvin Kamara is also probably not going to play again for a New Orleans team that is out of playoff consideration. So enter Kendre Miller, second-year pro out of TCU. What might he do tonight against Green Bay? That's what we'll try to figure out.
Yeah, he's going to be slippery tonight, I do think. And also, from that touchdown perspective again for Rattler, Taysom Hill would steal every one of those goal line situations or red zone situations from Rattler. And then you take a look at, obviously, Alvin Kamara. He's going to steal a lot of that. So who are we actually relying on? Like, we're giving the rock to Kendre Miller 3 times inside the 10-yard line if we get down there? I don't think so. So it sort of bolsters that. But once again, you can outsmart yourself from a dead football team going into a freezing cold environment against a quality opponent that's looking to kick your tail. But these numbers are so enticing that I love bottom of the basement type, hey, can I see this play out? 1 touchdown pass over 4 quarters, as long as you're healthy, in a game that you might be down 3 touchdowns. Why not? What, are the Packers going to have goal line stands late fourth quarter when they're up 3 touchdowns? No, it's just a prevent, dink and dunk. Can you make it happen? I'm interested in this game from that Saints perspective because a lot of buy low signs are there. You just don't want to get yourself caught up like, now, why did I actually do that? Which sometimes happens.
So, DRS, there's not a lot of production out of Kendre Miller this year, but in the 2 games he has played now in December, 9 carries last week for 46 yards against the Commanders, 10 attempts the week prior for 32 yards and a touchdown against the Giants. I think they are going to turn to him tonight as well. You saw the hefty number on Josh Jacobs, 2-hit payter, plenty more from the prop perspective with SportsGrid's Tom Vecchio. Up next, live right here on the Early Line.
The holidays come with a touch of craziness, from unwrapping the latest storylines to the best betting insights. We've got everything you need to crank up the excitement this season. We can't promise there won't be a little yelling.
Play a decent schedule. They have maybe 500.
Oh, that just ruined my day.
But we can guarantee a whole lot of fun. Merry Christmas from all of us at SportsGrid.
You do not seem to be overly concerned about the Lions holding on to that 1 seed by the end of this season. Will Detroit have the NFC postseason run through the Motor City?
How many plays does the defense have to make in a shootout? They got to make 1 or 2 more plays, Ben, than the other team. And if they can do that, then Detroit is very much alive in any game.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Those guys, those rookies, the Pacom Daddies, the Jacob Toppins, right? The Tyler Koleks, those young kids, he wants to get them that check. It means a lot to Brunson. And honestly, folks, it's going to mean a lot to this New York Knicks franchise that's never been back to the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals since 1999.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
We welcome you back to this Monday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. Monday Night Football tonight at the frozen tundra. Lambeau Field as the Packers will host the New Orleans Saints. Green Bay with a victory clinches a playoff berth. New Orleans already out of playoff consideration. What does the motivation and the numbers mean for the prop perspective on this Monday? That's what TV Tom Vecchio of SportsGrid is here to let us know. Tom, as always, we appreciate the time bright and early on this Monday morning. Hope the weekend was great as well.
Thanks for having me. We are in for a football game tonight. That much I know. Is it going to be good? Yep. We're going to find that out. And like you said, the Packers need to clinch this game, right? They need to win. So at a certain point, I expect this to be as straightforward as possible from the Packers side of things. What we get from some of their options on offense can be a bit of a question mark just because they may not have to score at a certain point. And then what we get from the Saints offense will determine the outcome of this entire game. Because if they are not able to score, we're actually going to see some Packers players fall to the under. So let's get to it.
So let's look at those numbers very quickly here. You see more than a 2-touchdown spread in favor of the Pack, a total that stands at 42.5. Vecchio, we're talking about a game with more than a 2-touchdown spread, 14 and a hook, and that total in the low 40s. So how are you approaching what you expect the flow of this game to look like tonight?
I really hope that the Saints win the toss and they actually go out and score, because that'll give some juice to the game overall, but it also drop the line for the Packers, and that's where I want it. I want to take them live. Like, I wouldn't mind taking the Packers minus 9.5 live if that's where I can get it, but I have no interest in laying 14.5. Can they cover that? Of course they can. They are the far superior team in this matchup, but I don't want to lay 14.5. So I actually hope the Saints come out and score early. We actually take the Packers live and then potentially play a live under if that jumps up to like 45.5 or 46.
Cold weather conditions tonight on the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Now, Christmas is coming here, and typically you do your Christmas shopping before Christmas, as you're supposed to, and you don't get great deals at this point. The reason I bring this up, Tom, is it feels like the day after Christmas where everything is on sale. That's what you're getting today, specifically out of Spencer Rattler. Both myself and Ben previewed this and said, you know what, Rattler, $175.5, but the one that keeps catching my eye, Tom, over a half of a touchdown pass, which means 1 in a game you might get blown out at a minus 128 price. I don't know if I've ever seen it that low for a starting quarterback on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Price points here for yardage: Jordan Love 230.5, Spencer Rattler 175.5. Which quarterback might you be leaning towards tonight in this game?
It honestly might be Rattler. And Jordan Love's been great this year, but again, at a certain point, we just have to see like a really simple game plan from the Packers, and that probably means to Josh Jacobs. We'll get there in a second, but Rattler, like you said, like they're gonna be playing from behind. Let's just get the yards. Like, let's just get the yards. You can absolutely get a touchdown. Like, if I told you the Packers won this game like 28 or 30-13, somewhere around there, like, I don't think that would surprise anyone. That kind of falls where we're expecting in terms of the total, the spread, et cetera, et cetera. But they do score that touchdown. It's either going to be a passing touchdown for Rattler or it's going to be Kendre Miller finding the end zone. So I absolutely don't mind the yards, and playing into the over half a passing touchdown, like you said, like something that should be happening. Like, we're not going to see them score no touchdowns tonight. At least I hope that's not what we're seeing.
Right. If they score a touchdown, why wouldn't Spencer Rattler throw it? Or maybe Kendre Miller score it with the price that you will see for the second-year running back out of TCU to hit Pater. On the other side, though, Tom, let's talk about Green Bay's Josh Jacobs, who has been sensational this year in his debut season with the Pack. If this game follows how we are all considering it right now, Green Bay needs to win to clinch a playoff spot. They are the hefty favorites at home tonight on a snowy night, or a cold night at least, in Christmas week at the frozen tundra. Aren't they just going to feed Josh Jacobs all night long? How do you approach the Packers running game?
That's what it really should be, like I said. And, looking to potentially over 19.5 rushing attempts for Josh Jacobs, I think is super solid. It was sitting on minus 128 last night. I think that's certainly a spot that you can go. I will say, as we get to that 19 kind of 20 line for Josh Jacobs, it actually does concern me slightly, because if they are up by this 14.5 point spread, as it would indicate, there's a chance they actually may scale him back. We got a couple weeks left in the season. He doesn't need to have 25 carries, right? If they're winning, let's get him out of there. Let's get him out of there. Let's keep him healthy. We can obviously operate the offense normally with a backup running back if it's going to be Marshawn Lloyd in there, whoever it might be. And then they'll be fine. They'll be winning this game by 14 points. You don't need to have your star running back out there. So I think the yards are super spot on. I don't mind taking an 80 or 90 plus, whatever. You want to alt them down, throw in a touchdown, kind of SGP. Keep it really, really simple tonight.
Yeah, definitely a way to do that. I do think Jacobs has a pretty good night tonight. But, Tom, like the feast of the 7 fishes, the wide receivers and the tight ends, woo, boy, you are getting discounts across the board. The highest player on the total, Christian Watson, 47.5. So many players in the high 20s, in the low 30s. Where do we go here tonight?
I really like Watson, and I really like Kraft tonight. So we can go to Kraft for a TD and Kraft over on his yards. Saints, they're middle of the league when it comes to yards allowed versus tight ends. Kraft does lead the team with a 22% red zone target share. He's been at 34 yards or more in 6 of his last 8 games. So I like him over the yards and the TD. And then Watson, over 47.5 yards and over 23.5 for the longest reception. He leads the team with a 17.6 average depth of target and leads the team with a 26% air yard share. Over the last 3 games alone, he has a 36, 59, and 46-yard reception, not to mention earlier in the season when he had 60, 44, and 37. And we see the Saints, over the last 5 weeks alone, they've allowed 12 receptions of at least 20 yards. And on the season, they've allowed 2,430 receiving yards to wide receivers. That's the 5th most in the league. So there's a chance that Watson and Kraft have big games. But I will say it may put things into a spot where Reed and Dobbs and like not all these players are going to be flying over their totals. Right. So it's probably going to be Jacobs plus like 2 of the receivers. It's not going to be anyone, or not going to be everyone, I should say. It's not going to be everyone, because if it is everyone, that probably means the Saints team total over would be in play at that point if they are actually scoring.
It's such a good point, Vecchio. 230.5 is the number for Jordan Love, as we shared. Yeah. If this game does stay largely in favor of the Packers, and we see Josh Jacobs involved more frequently than not everybody, as we divide it up between all of those potential pass catchers, can factor in to this game. But if anybody had to score a touchdown, or our favorite touchdown bet was a sprinkle, who would that be? I think we saw it at the bottom of the graphic, but maybe just explain it a little bit more.
Yeah, I would certainly take Kraft and Watson. And what I've always said is, like, Watson may not be the most consistent player. I know a lot of people have concerns about his ability to actually catch the ball. But when we're talking about deep shots getting down the field, if the Saints are going to be so worried about Josh Jacobs, who has been absolutely phenomenal, they have to stack the box at a certain point. Watson has this big playability, and all it takes is one slip on a potentially little precipitation kind of night where Watson does break one of those off. So I'm looking to Kraft and Watson 4 touchdowns. These are obviously much longer shots compared to Josh Jacobs, who's sitting at minus 200 or whatever it is at this point. But high usage players in the red zone combined with good matchups individually, that's where I'm going to be looking. So I almost feel at a certain point for tonight's game, less is more. Like, this is not a game where you can be firing across the board and taking 6 different receivers all to go over. It's you got to find your spots and stick with them, really.
Yeah. And the game could go over, but it might be very one-sided. So it's a very difficult game to handicap here to end out Week 16. Vecchio, you are our prop guy, but we also near the end of this NFL season, where it's about finding numbers that make sense. As you look at the Super Bowl odds at the end of Week 16, if you had to select one, what might be the best wager?
I don't mind taking a shot on the Vikings at 11-1 at this point, and this is hoping that they can come away with the division win, so those odds would drop if they were to have home field advantage. The Lions obviously coming off a nice win yesterday against the Bears, and while I've said that the Lions are amazing this season, they're dealing with so many injuries, it's going to start to hamper them at some point.
Yeah, we'll see how it lasts throughout the long stretch that can be a playoff run. TV Tom Vecchio of SportsGrid. We'll see you later tonight for all the Monday night coverage. More for Monday night next.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all, because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Monday Night Football, the finale of week number 16 between the Green Bay Packers and the New Orleans Saints. Again, maybe on paper, from the odds perspective, what we expect, it's not going to be the greatest game we have ever seen. It is a 14.5-point spread in favor of Green Bay, total 42.5. But that does not mean, DRS, that we can't find some winning wagers on this Monday as we enter Christmas week to add up the bankroll for those last-minute stocking stuffers. So let's talk about the stakes, just so we all know. New Orleans out of playoff consideration, already eliminated. The Green Bay Packers need this win tonight, obviously heavily expected to do so, and they will clinch a playoff berth and win number 11 this season. DRS, let's just start with the spread in the total. Is there any chance, in your estimation, not that New Orleans could cover, they could lose by 2 touchdowns and technically cover via the hook. Is there a chance this game is decided by a single score?
Yes. Yeah, because I do think you're looking at colder temperatures, and as long as you just play a decent football game for the Saints, and we're not saying, hey, their last 5 games, they've gotten beat by an average of 21 points. They're going to get killed tonight. Take a look at least from the Falcons game. 20-17 win. Browns, 35-14 win. The Rams, who are a playoff contender, probably going to win their division. You lose that game 21-14. You beat the Giants on the road 14-11, a low-scoring game. And then you'll come all the way back and almost beat the Commanders on the last play of the game, who are also a playoff contender. So the opportunities for the Packers should be there tonight with a chance to blow them out. But what the Saints are doing at the end of the season is they haven't given up, because the worst thing you can do to yourself and say, well, they're still professionals, it's 14.5, and you find yourself at 21-0 at the end of the first quarter because the Saints look like they're so disinterested, they don't want to be there. But you haven't got that from the New Orleans Saints over the past couple weeks when they've always been out of it.
I'm not entirely sure, DRS. I believe the Lions against the Titans was just 13.5 a few weeks ago. So I believe just now 3 times in the past 2 weeks, we have had spreads in an NFL game north of 2 touchdowns. Yesterday, between New England and Buffalo, of course, the Patriots comfortably covered that game, losing only by 3 and led 14-0 early in the first quarter. There could be a live betting spot if something similar follows tonight to jump back in on Green Bay just to win outright. And then 2 Sundays ago, Baltimore, as a 16.5-point road favorite in MetLife, easily covered that number against the New York Giants, winning by 3 touchdowns. But the Saints with Darren Rizzi, again, they have won 3 of 5. They have covered in 3 of 5. They have gone under in 4 of the 5 games with their interim head coach. Green Bay as a favorite since Jordan Love became the starting quarterback. Not illustrious. 7-7 against the spread for the Packers, who have been a team to play to plenty of overs so far this season. Donnie, let's try to correlate the side and the total. If Green Bay wins comfortably, is that an under? If the Saints keep this game close, would it actually push us to the over because we know we're getting more New Orleans offense than maybe the odds makers expect?
Yeah, usually you say, oh, blowout, that means the game's going over because easy points on the opposite side. That means that New Orleans was struggling to move the football all night, and we're just anticipating them in the final quarter scoring 10 points, let's just say, over the final 7 to 8 minutes of the game. So I do think if the game's close, it tends to me that New Orleans is playing sound defensively, but also making enough plays on offense to move the chains and get points here. So if this game is under the 14.5 number, I think it goes over. I think if the Packers are covering this game, it stays under, which usually you'd think the opposite. Well, they're covering 14. That probably means they scored 28 points. Yeah, they might score 28 points and still come away with a cover and an under in that game. 28-6, something in that range. That's feasible.
For sure. I think it's well said, DRS. It was also a thought I had for our 2 first opening round games of this college football playoff. If Indiana was going to pull the upset, the offense needed to be good. It was atrocious for 58 minutes. If SMU wanted to challenge Penn State, one of the better balanced defenses around the country, they needed to be the prolific Mustangs offense we had seen through a good majority of this year. Same case tonight. Normally, the betting correlation is underdog keeps it close in a gritty, ugly game. Total stays under because Green Bay needs more points to be even available and out there to win by more than 2 touchdowns. I actually think the opposite. New Orleans has to be so much better offensively to keep this game within margin than what we are expecting for a team total at 13 and a hook. So, of course, Donnie, that starts with Spencer Rattler. How do we feel about the rookie quarterback making start number 4 of his NFL career tonight in Green Bay?
Like, the numbers are so low. And by the way, I think we had was it 175.5 we were just talking about a couple minutes ago? because it's up to 179.5. So the juice is flowing now on Spencer Rattler after you have a nice little segment at this point. But the touchdown prop is still there at minus 128. But understand this, like, you're never out of it. As long as the kid doesn't get injured and you expect to be losing this game by double digits, 179 is, hey, can I just get a couple first downs every once in a while? And you find yourself in the fourth quarter and it's 130 yards passing, which isn't a ton. And you need roughly 50 or so in a fourth quarter where the defense has given up and saying, take what you get. As long as you take 8 minutes, we'll give you a field goal, a touchdown, whatever you want. So I am intrigued. If you said, like, which way would you rather go, the 179.5 or the touchdown pass? I probably go the touchdown pass because you can have a solid ground game. You can wind up with a turnover and see who gets returned back to the 15-yard line with a simple dink and dunk touchdown pass. That's probably the way. If I'm going to bet any Spencer Rattler props tonight, it's probably over 1.5 touchdown passes at that cheap price, or a half a touchdown pass, I should say, at that cheap price.
I would agree, and he does not have Alvin Kamara next to him tonight. It is going to be Kendre Miller. Those are the numbers that you will see on Miller. 50.5 rushing yards, 15.5 receiving yards, minus 290 for Josh Jacobs to hit Pater. He has scored in 5 consecutive games, 9 total rushing scores in the last 5. Donnie, in his first 9 as a Packer, 2 games where he scored 3 total rushing touchdowns. He has been so much more prolific getting to Pater here as of late. If you had to have one prop bet, DRS, in the final 30 seconds of this segment, what would it be?
If I had to have one, let's just say it's probably going to be a wide receiver, I would say, from the Saints' perspective. Valdez-Scantling, 34.5 isn't bad returning back. You know what? Let's go Valdez-Scantling. If he doesn't get 35 yards, how the hell are they moving the football tonight? How about that?
I like it, DRS. Hey, I won't see you. Have a very, very Merry Christmas. Have a great time tonight on NFL Football In-Game Live Game Day. More on the early line next.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all, because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Well, and tries to cut through the middle.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We welcome you back to the Early Line live right here on this Monday morning. Our 3 hours coming to a close here on TEL. A lot of college basketball to get you caught up on before we enter the holiday break this week around the sport. Really some great games on Saturday that maybe you missed because you were watching the college football playoff or a doubleheader of NFL action around the National Football League. Let's start with a great top 10 tilt in women's college basketball between number 7 USC, that's going to change on this Monday, and number 4 UConn. The Huskies had started perfect this year in Hartford on Saturday night. They were hosting Juju Watkins and Southern Cal. UConn has dropped 2 straight to UCLA and USC. And oh, by the way, Juju Watkins, 25 points, 6 boards, 5 dimes in that matchup against Connecticut. How did Paige Beckers answer on the other side? 22 points as well. Sarah Strong, 22 points and 13 boards to match Beckers for a co-game high, team high, I should say, for UConn. Big win for USC in that matchup against Connecticut. So quickly, let's just look at the national championship odds in women's college hoops before we give you those updates around men's college basketball from Saturday afternoon as well. South Carolina still remains a short favorite at plus 280. The Gamecocks haven't been nearly as dominant this year as they have been in years past, but of course they have earned that pedigree. South Carolina was nearly a minus money favorite before this year got underway. Still the favored team, but those odds a little bit more compact. USC alongside a team they just beat in Connecticut, both tied for the second best price at plus 450. Hannah Hidalgo and Notre Dame plus 470. They have been highly impressive this year. A lot of good college basketball in the Big Ten right now. UCLA at plus 750 as well. Teams like Maryland, Ohio State, Indiana, Illinois, and of course Iowa going to factor into that conference title race in what it might mean for the national championship race as well. And Michigan State women's basketball, by the way, off to a historic start. Also, if you can see this glove, it's because it's a little cold here in studio. Don't want you to think I'm a weirdo. Anyway, let's get to the rest of our college basketball scores from Saturday. A bunch of top 25 teams in action in some marquee matchups, including in Birmingham, where number 2 Auburn absolutely hammering 16th ranked Purdue, 87-69, the victory for the Tigers. Janai Broome has been without a doubt. There might be some freshmen that catch a little bit more accolades or storyline, but the big man from the SEC and for Bruce Pearl's Auburn team, the preseason SEC Player of the Year in Janai Broome, has lived up to the billing and then some. Auburn has been ridiculous this year. They have played a very difficult schedule, and they have looked great in doing so. A bunch of quad 1 wins, and their only losses this year in those quad 1 spots as well, including in a matchup in Durham taking on Duke. CBS Sports Classic at the Garden on Saturday. That would be Madison Square Garden. Ohio State as a pretty hefty underdog against Kentucky, catching 6.5, 7.5 points. Wins outright by 20 over a Cats team that was in the top 5. We'll get the AP poll later this afternoon. 85-65. Couple of marquee wins for Ohio State. Season opener against Texas. That one, of course, in Madison Square Garden will do well. The other game in Madison Square Garden, UNC needed a power conference win and a quad 1 victory. North Carolina got that on Saturday. 76-74 over 18th ranked UCLA. UNC is 7-5. None of their 5 losses are bad or will, I guess from the idea, hamper them come Selection Sunday. It's just the quantity of those losses without a really quality win. So a big victory for the Tar Heels on Saturday at MSG in some Big East games, as you saw. Marquette edges out Xavier. UConn continues to win, beating Butler on the road in Indianapolis. Let's look at those men's championship odds as well. We just sung the praises of Auburn. Short number at 6-1, the shortest price we have seen on any men's program to win the national championship this year. Auburn at plus 600. Duke 9-1, Tennessee 11-1. The Volunteers, the number 1 team in the country this past week. We also have some bowl games starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. In just a few moments, UTSA against Coastal Carolina will get a doubleheader of bowl action started on this Monday. The early line returns tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, here on the Grid.